back to Prime Wealth. We're so glad you're joining us today.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. We really appreciate you taking the time to listen in.
So today we're diving into a concept that I think a lot of us can relate to. It's called the Latte Factor.
Right. It's all about those small habits we have that can really add up, like that daily coffee run.
Exactly. It's not just about coffee, though. It's about understanding how little expenses can impact our overall wealth, and how being mindful can really lead to big changes.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because many people think that building wealth is all about making big moves. But it's really those small, consistent choices that can make a huge difference.
Totally. So in this episode, we'll explore how to identify those tiny habits that might be draining your wallet and share some practical tips on what you can do instead.
And we'll also talk about how to shift your mindset from seeing these small expenses as harmless to recognizing their potential impact on your financial future.
Ooh, I love that. It's all about empowerment, right? Giving you the tools to make smarter choices and feel more in control of your money.
Exactly. So let's jump right in and start uncovering those habits that could be holding you back from building the wealth you deserve.
So Alex, today we're diving into something that's been buzzing around a lot lately, the Latte Factor. I mean, it sounds cute, right? But really, why does it matter? Especially for folks over 40.
Yeah, it's a great question, Jordan. So the Latte Factor is all about those small, everyday expenses. Like that daily coffee run or those little treats we tend to overlook. For people over 40, it's crucial because, many of us are at a life stage where we're thinking about retirement more seriously.
Right, and that's a big deal. I mean, we're not just talking about saving a few bucks here and there. We're talking about building a nest egg, right?
Exactly. Studies have shown that people who are 40 and older often have, different financial responsibilities. Maybe they're supporting kids in college, caring for aging parents, or even just trying to keep up with rising costs.
Yeah, and with inflation hitting everyone hard these days, those little expenses can add up, right?
Absolutely. I mean, think about it. If you're spending, say, $5 a day on coffee, that's about $150 a month. Over a year, that's $1, $800. And if you invested that instead, it could grow significantly over time.
Wow, that's a lot of money. I think it's easy to brush off those small costs, like it's just a coffee. But when you lay it all out, it's eye-opening.
Right? And it's not just coffee. It could be that subscription service you never use, or those impulse buys. They creep up on you, and before you know it, they're really affecting your financial health.
I remember a friend of mine, she's in her late 40s, and she was spending, way too much on takeout. She didn't even realize how much it added up until she started tracking her expenses.
Exactly. I mean, awareness is a huge part of this. Once she realized, it was like a light bulb moment. Instead of cutting everything out, she found ways to save without sacrificing her lifestyle.
Yes, and it's all about finding that balance, right? Maybe she could cook a few meals on the weekends and still treat herself to takeout once in a while.
Exactly, Jordan. It's about making intentional choices. And for those of us over 40, it's not just about saving money. It's about building a mindset of wealth. Thinking long term.
Right, and I think there's this emotional aspect too. When you're more aware of your spending, it gives you a sense of control, doesn't it?
Definitely. It can be empowering. Instead of feeling like your money is slipping away, you start to see how your choices can lead to financial freedom. It's like you're taking charge of your future.
And let's not forget the fear many people have about retirement. I mean, it can feel overwhelming, especially if you're not where you want to be financially.
Yes. And that's why the Latte Factor matters now more than ever. If you can start making small adjustments today, it can have a huge impact down the road. It's like planting a seed.
I love that analogy. And it's about being proactive rather than reactive, right? Instead of waiting until retirement to figure things out.
Exactly. You want to build that wealth gradually. And the earlier you start being mindful of those little expenses, the more you can grow your savings.
So true. I've heard stories of people who, when they hit their 40s, really start to feel the pressure. They might think they've missed the boat on saving, but it's really never too late to start making changes.
Right. It's about progress, not perfection. even if you start small, those habits can lead to bigger changes over time.
And I think that's a message that resonates with so many people. It's not about giving up everything you love, but making more mindful choices.
Exactly. And those mindful choices can lead to significant savings and ultimately peace of mind. It's about creating a lifestyle that aligns with your financial goals.
So I guess the question is, how do we start? What are some practical steps people can take right now to embrace this mindset?
Well, we'll get into that in a bit, but I think the first step is just awareness, like we mentioned. Track your spending for a month and see where those little expenses are sneaking in.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And then, once you see where your money is going, you can start making adjustments that fit your life.
Exactly. It's all about small, manageable changes that can lead to bigger results.
And it feels less daunting that way, right? Instead of thinking, I need to overhaul my entire budget, it's just about recognizing those habits.
Yes, and embracing the process. Remember, every little bit counts.
I love that. It's about building a better future step by step.
Exactly. So let's dive into some core strategies that can help people really harness the power of their everyday spending.
So Alex, today we're diving into something that I think a lot of people can relate to. The idea of the latte factor.
Absolutely, Jordan. It's a simple concept, but it can really have a huge impact on our finances over time, you know?
Right. So for anyone who might not be familiar, the latte factor is about those small, everyday expenses, like that daily coffee run, right?
Exactly. It's those little things that seem harmless in the moment, but when you add them up over a year, or even a decade, they can really add up.
Yeah, like if you spend, say, $5 a day on coffee, that's about $150 a month.
Right. And that's, what, $1,800 a year?
Yes. And think about it. If you invested that money instead,
you could end up with a nice chunk of change down the road. Let's say you invest that $1,800 annually at a modest return of, 6%.
Oh, I love this part.
Well, over 20 years, that could grow to over $60,000.
Wow, that's incredible. Just from skipping that daily latte.
It really makes you think about the small habits we have. If we can shift our mindset, it's not about depriving ourselves.
Exactly. It's about making smarter choices. So what's the first step someone can take to start?
A good starting point is tracking those daily expenses. You know, just take a week and write down everything you spend.
Yeah, I've done that before. It's eye-opening.
Right? You might be surprised by some of the stuff you're spending on. And then you can identify where you might want to make cuts.
Like, maybe you notice you're grabbing lunch out way too often.
Exactly. So you could set a goal, like, I'll only eat out for lunch twice a week.
And then you can use that saved money for something more beneficial, like, building an emergency fund.
Yes, or even investing it. So once you've tracked your spending and identified those little expenses, what's next?
Well, I think it's important to create a budget.
Right. And a budget doesn't have to be complicated. You can use the 50/30/20ths rule, which is super simple.
Oh, I love that rule. So that's 50% of your income goes to needs.
Exactly. Like housing, utilities, and groceries.
Then 30% for wants, right?
Yes, that's where things like dining out, entertainment, and, those lattes come in.
And the last 20% is for savings or paying off debt, right?
Yes, that's a solid formula. And the beauty is, it's flexible too. You can adjust it based on your own situation.
Totally. And if someone finds they're spending too much on wants,
they can simply adjust that 30% down a bit to save more.
Exactly, and it's all about finding balance. So let's talk about some practical tips on cutting those small expenses.
Sure. One easy way is to automate your savings. You know, set up a transfer to your savings or investment account the same day you get paid.
Oh, that's so smart. So you don't even see that money, right?
Exactly. Out of sight, out of mind.
And it makes it easier to stick to that budget since you're not tempted to spend it.
Right. And another way to cut back is to find alternatives for those little luxuries.
Like making coffee at home instead of stopping at the cafe.
Yes, and you can still enjoy it, you know? Maybe invest in a nice coffee maker.
Oh, I love my French press.
See? You can still have that daily ritual, just for less.
And what about those subscriptions?
Great point. Reviewing your subscriptions regularly can really help. You'd be surprised how many people forget about the ones they don't use.
Right. Like that streaming service or magazine subscription you signed up for years ago.
Exactly. Just do a little audit and cut out what you don't need.
So, once you've identified your expenses, created a budget, and started cutting back,
You can then focus on what to do with those savings.
which is so exciting. You can put it toward retirement, pay down debt, or even, travel.
Yes. Or invest in yourself, like taking a class or a course to learn something new.
It's all about making those small changes that lead to bigger goals, right?
Absolutely. And remember, it's a journey. You don't have to be perfect.
Right, just consistent. So, before we wrap up, let's talk about some common pitfalls people might face when trying to implement these strategies.
Oh, that's a key point. People often think they need to make drastic changes to see results.
Yeah, and that can be overwhelming, right?
Exactly. It's better to start small and build on those habits over time.
And sometimes, people can get discouraged if they don't see immediate results.
Yes, but remember, it's about the long game. Even small progress is still progress.
So true. And I think having a support system can really help too.
Absolutely. Share your goals with friends or family, and they can help keep you accountable.
Great advice, Alex. I feel like we've covered a lot today.
We really have. And I hope listeners feel inspired to take those small steps toward building their wealth.
Definitely. Thanks for sharing your insights, Alex.
My pleasure, Jordan. Always here to help.
And to our listeners, remember to tune in next time as we explore those common pitfalls further.
Until then, take care and happy saving.
Bye, everyone. So, Alex, today we're diving into something really interesting. The Latte Factor. It's that idea that small, everyday expenses can really add up, right?
Absolutely, Jordan. You know, it's easy to overlook those little purchases, like your morning coffee or that snack you grab on your way home.
Yeah, totally. And it's not just about coffee, is it? It's about our habits. Those little things that we might not think twice about.
Exactly. So what's the common pitfall here?
Well, one mistake people often make is not tracking their spending. They assume it's all harmless, but it can snowball.
Right. I've seen it happen so many times. Someone might think, oh, it's just $5 here, $10 there. But then at the end of the month, they realize, wow, that's a significant chunk of change.
Like, they might spend $100 on takeout without even realizing it.
Exactly. And when you add that to a few other small expenses, it can really add up. I had a client once. Let's call her Lisa. She wasn't tracking her daily expenses, and when we did a review together, she was shocked to find out she spent nearly $300 a month on snacks and drinks.
Wow, that's a lot. Did she feel it in her budget?
For sure. She was struggling to save for a vacation, and that was part of the issue. Once we identified that spending, she was able to make some simple adjustments.
So how did she cut back?
Well, we talked about alternatives. Instead of buying a coffee every morning, she started making it at home. Just a small change, but it made a big difference.
That's so relatable. I think a lot of us have been there, right? It's easy to rationalize those little expenses.
Definitely. Another common pitfall is the "it's only a small amount" mindset. People often think, I can afford this. It won't make a difference.
Yeah, like the mindset of treating yourself. I mean, we all deserve a little treat now and then, right?
Sure, but it's about balance. If you're treating yourself every day, those small amounts can add up to something significant. And then you might find yourself in a tough spot financially.
Can you think of an example of that?
Sure. Let's say someone goes out for lunch every day instead of bringing their own. That's what, $10 to $15 a day? Multiply that by 5 days a week, and you're looking at anywhere from $50 to $75 a week. Easy.
And over a month, that's over $300.
Exactly. And if the person is not careful, that can turn into a habit that affects their savings or even their ability to invest.
So what should people look out for? To recognize those danger signs.
Good question. One sign is when you start feeling stressed about money. If you find yourself constantly checking your bank account or feeling anxious about expenses.
Yeah, that's definitely a red flag. What else?
Another sign is if you're using credit cards more often than cash. It's easy to swipe and forget, but that can lead to overspending.
Right! And then you get that surprise at the end of the month when the bill comes in.
Exactly. I had a client, Tim, who was doing just that. He had a few credit cards and, he never really kept track of what he was spending.
How did that turn out for him?
Well, he ended up with a pretty hefty balance that he was struggling to pay off. Once we sat down and looked at his spending, we identified where he could cut back, and we created a plan to help him manage his debt.
That sounds super helpful. So what lessons did he learn from that experience?
The biggest takeaway for him was the importance of being aware of his spending habits and the power of small changes. He realized that just by cooking at home a few times a week, he could save a lot.
That's so encouraging. It's not about drastic changes, but rather small, consistent actions.
Exactly. And it's about recognizing that those small habits can build up over time. Sometimes it's the little things that can lead to big results.
For sure. So if someone finds themselves stuck in that cycle of small, unnecessary expenses, what's a good first step to take?
I would suggest starting with tracking your expenses. Just for a month, keep a record of everything you spend. You'll be surprised at what you discover.
That's a great idea. And once you've identified where the money is going, what's next?
Next, I'd recommend setting some goals. What do you want to save for? A vacation, a new car, or maybe retirement? Once you have that in mind, you can create a budget that aligns with those goals.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's all about having a vision and then being mindful of those everyday choices.
Absolutely. And remember, it's not about depriving yourself. It's about making informed choices that align with your financial goals.
I love that. It's empowering, Small changes can lead to big outcomes.
Exactly, Jordan. And if someone finds themselves slipping back into old habits, it's okay. The important thing is to recognize it and get back on track.
Definitely. Thanks, Alex, for sharing these insights today. It's all about being aware and making those small shifts, right?
You got it. And I'm looking forward to our next conversation about how to build on these habits for long-term wealth.
Me too. Let's keep the momentum going. So, Alex, we've talked about the latte factor and how those little expenses can add up. But what can our listeners do, right now, to start making changes?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jordan. I think the first step is just awareness. Start by tracking your spending for a week or two. It's eye-opening.
Right. Just seeing where your money goes can really help you identify those small, unnecessary expenses.
Exactly. And there are some really handy apps out there for that. You've got Mint, for instance, which can link to your bank accounts and categorize your spending automatically.
Oh, Mint is super user-friendly. And then there's YNAB. You need a budget if you want something a bit more hands-on, right?
Absolutely. YNAB is fantastic for building awareness and teaching you to allocate every dollar. It's kind of like giving every dollar a job.
Yeah, I love that concept. And for our listeners who might not want to dive into apps just yet, they could go old school, right? Just use a notebook or a spreadsheet.
Totally. Sometimes pen and paper can be just as effective. The key is consistency, whether it's digital or analog. Just track where your money is going.
So once they've got that awareness, what's next? How do they start cutting back without feeling deprived?
Great point. A good strategy is to look for one or two areas where you can cut back a little. Maybe it's that daily coffee run.
Yeah, or those takeout lunches, right? If you make your coffee at home a few times a week, you could save $20 or more.
Exactly. And let's not forget about meal prepping. Cooking at home can save a ton of money and is often healthier too.
And it doesn't have to be complicated. Just pick a few easy recipes and you're good to go.
Right. And here's a little tip. Try setting a specific goal for your savings. I want to save $100 this month.
Oh, I love that. It gives you something to work toward. And once you hit that goal, it feels so rewarding.
Definitely. And you can use that savings for something fun or even invest it. Speaking of investing, I'd suggest starting small, like with a robo-advisor.
Oh, yeah. Robo-advisors like Betterment or Wealthfront make investing super accessible, even for beginners.
Exactly, and they usually have low fees, which is great. Plus, you can start with just a few $100.
I think a lot of people get intimidated by investing, but starting small seems like a great way to dip your toes in.
For sure. And, it's not just about the money. Building habits is key. Setting up automatic transfers to your savings or investment accounts can make a big difference.
Oh, I love that idea. It's like paying yourself first, right?
Right. That way, you're prioritizing your future without even thinking about it. It's all about making those good habits second nature.
And it doesn't have to be a huge amount. Even $20 a week adds up over time.
Exactly. You'd be surprised how quickly those small amounts can grow, especially with compound interest.
So, what about books? Are there any that you'd recommend for our listeners who want to dive deeper into this?
Absolutely. The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey is a classic. It's really practical and motivating.
I've heard great things about that one. And what about Your Money or Your Life?
Yes, that's another excellent choice. It really helps you rethink your relationship with money and encourages mindful spending.
That sounds perfect. So, to recap, our listeners should start tracking their spending, identify small habits to change, set savings goals, and maybe pick up a book or two.
Exactly. And remember to be kind to yourself in the process. Change takes time, and it's all about progress, not perfection.
Well said. And looking for small wins can really help keep you motivated.
Right, and celebrate those wins. Whether it's saving your first $100 or making your own lunch for the week, it all adds up.
I think that's such a great note to end on. It's all about those small steps leading to big changes.
Definitely. And the important thing is to just start, no matter how small.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing all this valuable advice today, Alex.
My pleasure, Jordan. I hope our listeners feel inspired to take action.
Me too. And for everyone tuning in, remember, you've got this.
Until next time.
Bye, everyone. Wow, what an amazing conversation we just had about the Latte Factor. I mean, it really shows how small, consistent habits can lead to big changes, right?
Absolutely, Jordan. One of the key takeaways is just how much those little daily expenses can add up over time. Like, if you cut back on things you don't really value, it can free up cash for savings or investments.
Yeah, and it's all about being mindful, isn't it? Like, starting with just one small change, that can really snowball into larger financial habits over time.
Definitely. And another point that really stood out is the power of compounding. I mean, even small amounts saved can grow significantly if you give them time. So starting sooner rather than later is crucial.
Right, and let's not forget the importance of setting clear goals. Having something to aim for makes the process so much more rewarding, doesn't it?
Yes, having those goals helps you stay focused and motivated, and, it's not about perfection, but progress. Every little step counts.
Exactly. So listeners, if you take away anything from today's episode, let it be this. Small changes can lead to big results. You've got the power to create your financial future, one habit at a time.
And remember, it's never too late to start. If you found value in today's discussion, we'd love it if you could, like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. Also, if you know someone over 40 who could benefit from this, share it with them.
Yes, please do. And next time, we'll be diving into something super practical, how to do a financial checkup using a yearly review template. It's going to be a great way to get your finances in order.
Sounds like a plan, Jordan. Thanks for joining us today, everyone.
Yeah, thanks so much. We hope you have a fantastic day, and we'll see you next time.
Take care, everyone.